Hey Techno Studs, this is about the time of the module where I like to do a project video. My project videos implement the changes on the network that we'll see for the rest of the course, but it also shows you what I would actually implement in the real world if this was my network. However, this is where it's going to split a little differently. That is, I'm going to show you in this video what I would implement in the outside world. How would I go about approaching this? However, it's not what I'm going to use through the rest of the course. I'll do another video about that, just showing you what I'm going to do. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want to get my network really complicated and have some problems troubleshooting in the future. I want to keep this test network a little more clean than that. So in this video, let's go over what I would do in the real world and show you how I'd set it up. So this is the network that we've been building, and like I say, this is mostly what I would do if I was in the real world. I've already implemented stuff into this network that I would do and have done in my networks. But this time right here, what I want to do is I want to show you what ACLs I would create to protect this network right here. I'm not going to do the whole network. I'm just going to show you what I would implement for this network right here. This site right here. And one thing that we've done is we've set up access control lists, or excuse me, we've set up VLANs so that we can create security. So for instance, this demo pi 3 is on a .30, this demo pi 2 is on a .20, this demo pi 1 is on a .10. And each one of these VLANs are a different type of network. VLAN 10 is designed to be my admin network, things that I will manage other devices through. VLAN 20 is supposed to be my server network, where I'm going to put all my servers. VLAN 30, 40, and 50 are my user networks. VLAN 150 is my phone network. And so I've got this all split out very logically. And I said with the VLAN chapters, one reason why I do that is so that way I can implement security. Well, here's where we're going to implement the security. We're going to do it with access control lists. So the first thing that I mentioned when you are establishing your access control list is it comes down to the policy. You need to have a policy on how your network is going to operate. So that's what I have right here is my policies on how I'm going to manage the network when it comes to this headquarters site right over here on the left-hand side of this network. So first of all, I have traffic exiting a network should be implicitly allowed. So from demo laptop, it is going to be allowed to exit and go to the rest of the world. Not all networks are set up that way. I've definitely encountered networks where they block all traffic unless they explicitly allow it. It's a much more secure way of operating your network. The advantage of that is if something gets compromised within your network, it's not going to be sending out traffic to the outside world. And what you have to do then is if you are part of the organization, a user, if they needed access to something specific, a certain port or some site that's out there that has an IP and a port, you would have to relay that to your IT team or your networking team, and they would have to allow that traffic to get out. It can be a big pain, a big headache. It can be really problematic, and it could cause troubleshooting problems. And so generally speaking, I don't like my networks to operate that way, and a lot of networks won't operate that way. Most networks operate where it just allows all traffic to exit but blocks certain traffic trying to enter. So it can be done, and a really secure network, if you're dealing with a bank network or a military network or something that needs to be really secure, you would want that implemented. For this purpose, we're not going to set that up. The next policy I have is traffic entering a network should explicitly be blocked unless they were specifically allowed. So what that's just saying is that things can't come back into this network unless we specifically allow it. All return traffic to all networks should be explicitly allowed. So anything originating from the internal in the network going out and making a request, that traffic should be able to get replied to. And that's pretty standard. Ping is always allowed. I just want to troubleshoot. I want to be able to make sure that I can troubleshoot all of this network. So ping is always going to be allowed. All VTY lines should be locked down to only accept traffic from the VLAN 10 from VLAN 10 network. So that's my administration network. That's the network that I can get into all of their networks. So the VTY lines, we could lock down those VTY lines so that way only from the admin network has access. Admin network has access to all other networks. Since that's the admin network, it should have access to all other networks. Server networks has access to all others except for the admin. So there's a hierarchy here. Admin access network has access to everything. The server network has access to everything except for the admin network. Server network blocks traffic except to traffic specifically allowed. So you're not going to allow traffic back into the server network unless you open up certain ports. Server network allows admin network access. Okay, that is essentially said already, but server network can allow access to a specific resource by IP endport /service. All other services must be blocked. So this is just saying that you're going to have servers in your network and you're going to want to allow access to those services. So this is allowing to access those services by the IP and port. So you have to specify the IP and port to be able to have access to it. User networks blocks traffic except those to resources specifically allowed. So mainly our user networks shouldn't really have much resources on them that need to be accessed from other networks. Even things like our printers, we probably want local on that network and we don't want other people from other VLANs to access that. For instance, let me give you an example, is that maybe you have your sales network and they have a specific printer that's dedicated towards the sales network, then you don't want your other users from other departments to be able to access that. You may or may not want that. And then this is just allows for certain exceptions to that. So we've got our policy set up. That's step one, set up our policies. The next thing is I like to have kind of an intermediate step, and that is to, what is the effect? Well, VLAN 10, this is what we're going to allow, and this is what we're going to deny. And this is essentially would become our remarks for our VLAN. So in our ACLs, we have the remark statements. This would essentially become the remark statements. So you outline all of that. The one ACL that I don't have outlined here, or that I don't specify, is for those VTY lines. So we would want to do that separately, is set up the VTY lines. Okay, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up, take these, and then figure out what the commands are for each one of these. So I am going to allow established traffic, so allow TCP any established. Okay, that makes sense. Allow ping, so I'm going to allow ICMP any, and allow 10.1.10.21. So I'm allowing any traffic can get to this 10.1.10.21. That is my PI. So any traffic can come back, any TCP traffic can come back to this demo PI. All right. Then I need to apply it to the interface. So I'm going to apply it to interface VLAN 10, IP access group, and then the ACL, and it's out. And once again, remember, these are switch virtual interfaces. So think of an interface, it's coming out of the interface into the network. So versus if it were originating from the network, then it would be coming into that interface. But this is going out to that network. All right, next I have the IP access list extended VLAN 20, and it has the same established, has the same ping. It adds access from the admin network. Remember, we want admin network to be able to access everything else. So it allows the admin access to VLAN 20. And it allows also from this 10.2.0.0. This is from the other side. This is network. So this is the server network over here, and it's allowing access into, we actually have a server network over here. So it allows that, and then it allows port 22, so SSH access into this host, which is the demo Pi right here. All right, I will skip all of this because this is all the same except for it adds the local server network. So this local server network can get into VLAN 30. And then it also allows TCP traffic port 80 to the 10.1.30.23. And I did that because this demo Pi has a website on it. So I wanted to allow access to that. All right, now for the most part, the rest of these are pretty much the same. So I'm not going to cover all the rest of this since they're pretty much the same, but that is then the commands. At this point in time, what I could do is I could jump onto that device. So I'll minimize this and this, jump onto this device, get into the global configuration mode, and then I could start copying these and pasting them into here to do the configuration. And then the most important part is testing. Both testing to make sure what you want to happen to allow is it will allow, and what you want to deny, the traffic you want to deny, will be denied. So testing is an important part of all of this because you don't want any security holes and you don't want to hinder certain traffic. So because the amount of commands that are in here and how many VLANs that are involved, there's going to be extensive testing with this. So don't overlook the time that would take to test all this out to make sure it works correctly. But what we essentially have developed by doing this is that each one of these VLANs have a heightened level of security, and each VLAN, so those that are in the admin network, let's say the exec network, those that are in the exec network, and those that are in the sales network, and those who are in the operations network have security between each of those networks. So now somebody who's in sales can't just start and go and hacking things. They can't get into things. They can't. So we have put these ACLs on each one of our VLANs to create security between our networks, between our VLANs. And that's how I would set up my network if I were setting this particular network up out in the real world.